everyone, and welcome back to my Instagram TV channel. Today's video I wanted to talk about how to get a non-English teaching job through higher education in Japan. In my personal case, I went and I got my MBA at Doshisha University in Kyoto, and not that many people talk about this route when they're talking about getting to Japan. A lot of people talk about getting an English teaching job before going and getting a non-English teaching job as a gateway. But I decided instead to take a different route, which is going through higher education. So when I first came to Japan, I personally wanted a bit of a more long-term solution to living in Japan rather than just betting all my cards and going and teaching English. So before I get started, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this that I am not an expert in Japanese visas or in getting into Japanese universities. I'm only going to be talking about my experience in all of this, and this was about 5 years ago. Okay, so here's a little bit of my story. I graduated from college in the US in May of 2012, and then just 5 months afterwards, I moved to Japan and I entered Doshisha University in the fall of 2012. I entered their GMBA program, or their Global Masters of Business Administration program, in fall of 2012. And I chose that because I was a business major all the way through undergrad. So I studied 4 years of business, and then I decided to just continue my business education and get an MBA. I went to graduate school, but you don't have to go to graduate school. You can do a regular undergrad program in Japan for 4 years. And I know Ritsumeikan and Sophia University both have English programs. Programs that are taught in English, I should say. Side note, even though I say that the programs are in English, it is very important to learn Japanese while you are studying at these programs. Even though Japanese companies are becoming a lot more international, it's still an exception to the norm to not speak Japanese. I mean, maybe in Tokyo you'd be able to get a job where you didn't have to speak much Japanese, but I personally wanted to immerse myself into a Japanese business and understand Japanese and communicate in Japanese, so I worked my butt off. I studied Japanese while I was in graduate school as well because they offered Japanese classes, and I took it. And then by the time I was graduating, I was about intermediate conversational level. I could hold a decent conversation. I could interview in Japanese as well. And then when I entered my first company, about a year afterwards, I had pretty good business Japanese. Now, 5 years out of working in Japan, I have JLPT N2, and I am, I believe, in between an N2 and N1, and I don't know if I'm going to be taking N1 or not. So just as kind of a gauge of how I grew from when I entered in 2012, I studied Japanese, entered a Japanese company in 2014, then worked in several Japanese companies, all pretty much in Japanese, for 5 years, and now I have N2 level Japanese. Now the question is, why is a degree from a Japanese university beneficial? So number one, a Japanese degree from a Japanese university weighs higher than a non-Japanese degree. Japan wants really highly skilled workers right now, and if you have a master's degree, even from an overseas university, not a Japanese university, but if you have a master's degree, that also works in your favor as well to get a work visa to come and work in Japan. But if you went to a Japanese university, you're in the Japan bubble already, so immigration looks good. It looks good to immigration to have that on your resume. Number two, networking and connection. So if you get into a Japanese university, they will be able to help you look for a job, and you get to meet all the other students who probably are going to be older than you if you were my age. I was only 21 or 22 when I first moved to Japan, and a lot of the students were older than me. So I had a lot of opportunities to network with the Japanese MBA program. I had a lot of opportunities to network just in general. We had company visits. We also had a career services office that would help us with our resume, that would help us with job hunting advice. But I will say that in Japan, they still will give you the traditional Japanese job hunting advice, which really doesn't work for foreign students because we're on a bit different schedule than the rest of Japan. So if you don't know, Japanese job hunting starts in April. Starts a really long time before, like years and years before you actually graduate. This isn't a typical undergrad situation. They start years, like a year or two before you actually are supposed to graduate. You get a job, and then everyone enters the company at the same time in April. So as a foreigner, you're not going to be following that. So that's one word of caution that I will say. But the career office will be able to give you resume advice, which my whole resume actually was written by the career office. And I still use that resume today. I just add my new stuff, my new job experiences to it because I'd use the same template. Also, name of your university does matter. So every time I say to somebody, oh, I went to Doshisha University, they either say, oh my God, I went there too. Or, oh wow, you must be really smart, because Doshisha is one of the top private universities in the Kansai region of Japan, and pretty much everybody knows it. Even though I say, oh no, it wasn't English. Like, eigo dattan desu yo. Even though I say that, like, they don't really care. You have that name on your resume, which is really important. So not just Doshisha, but a lot of the top names that I just said before, Sophia University, Kyoto University, Ritsumeikan, Tokyo University. Those are all top universities. If you get in there, you will have a foot in the door and you'll be able to get some amazing jobs. Another tip for you is regarding the job hunting process. So when you're at the end of your time and you're searching for a job at the very end, I recommend that you go and search around for recruitment agencies, because they will be able to get your foot in the door. They'll know exactly what jobs are out there. And I particularly used 2 agencies, I don't remember what the names are because it was 5 years ago, to help me get a job. And one was in Nagoya that I had an interview for, and one was in Kobe that I had an interview for. So you can get stuff all around, and therefore for foreigners as well. Also, go to the big job fairs. So there's the there's a big Tokyo Job Fair, International Job Fair, that I know goes on every single year. Even if you're not going to be getting a job particularly there, it'll get you experience actually interviewing, because hiring managers are there. They'll have interviews right on the spot. So I really think, or I advise, that you go to these job fairs just for the experience, and you'll also figure out what types of jobs you like, what types of companies out there, what the companies actually want, and interview experience. Actual interview experience is super important to have, because all the interview is pretty much going to be in Japanese. I guarantee you it's going to be in Japanese. Every single one of my interviews that I've had was in Japanese. Lastly, I'm going to talk about some of the cons of this route. So the first one is that this route costs money, and you can't work while you're on a student visa. So my particular case, it cost about 1 million yen for, I believe, 1 year. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I had a 75% scholarship that I got off of that. But living expenses were about 150,000 yen a month or more, and that can fluctuate depending on where you are in Japan, what type of accommodation you want in Japan, and so on. So you have to keep in mind that there are going to be costs to that, and you can't work full time. You can only work up to 20 hours a week on a student visa, and you have to get permission from immigration in order to work those 20 hours. Last but not least, this route takes 2 to 4 years to complete, because if you're doing a master's program, it'll take 2 years. If you're doing a regular degree program, an undergrad degree, that'll be 4 years. So you're going to be studying the entire time. And as I said before, you're not going to be able to work at all. So it's going to be a monetary and a time investment. So if you're looking for something that you want to come to Japan, start working right away, just get right on your feet, then this might not be the route for you. So I think that you should evaluate the type, like what do you want? If you want to come straight into Japan, English teacher, unfortunately, or Japanese language school, or if your country has a working holiday visa for 1 year, that also works in your favor too. That is a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please comment below, or you can DM me and I will try my best to answer. But please remember that I'm no expert on this. I can give you more information. If you have any other ideas on type of videos that you want to see from me, let me know in the comments below too, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!